30th, 2016, Mike Pence scrolled through his Twitter feed, as any responsible and dedicated governor does. But what he found was unusual. Women from all over the state were tweeting him about their menstrual cycles. One user tweeted, "Aunt Flo showed up yesterday and I've been having terrible cramps all day. Tua leave didn't work. Suggestions?" Soon they began calling for his advice on cramps, birth control, and whether their flow was regular or a miscarriage. This movement, known as Periods for Pence, was in response to his support of a potential Indiana law that the Nation of October 11th, 2016 describes as the new anti-abortion trend. This law, also known as House Enrolled Act 1337, would require women who have had an abortion or a miscarriage to bury or cremate their fetus, no matter how far along the pregnancy was. Governor Pence stated that by enacting this legislation, we are taking an important step in protecting the unborn, while still making an exception for the life of the mother. This rhetoric leaves us asking, how does the Indiana fetus burial law use agency to establish the narrative surrounding abortion? To answer, we'll turn to Sandra French and Sonia Brown's article, "It's All Your Fault: Symbolic Action in the Assigning of Guilt and Blame to Women," published in the February 2011 issue of the Southern Communication Journal. This model is ideal because, in building upon Kenneth Burke's work, it analyzes how agency is used in assigning guilt to women through obesity and sexual assault campaigns in order to establish a narrative about their worth and experience. So we'll break down the model, apply it to HEA 1337, analyze implications of a bill that The Atlantic of May 14th, 2016 claims could serve as a grieving mechanism for women who have had a miscarriage. But for women who have had an abortion, the purpose remains convoluted. French and Brown provide 3 tenets for analyzing narratives surrounding women: attitude, victimage, and mortification. Initially, attitude is the cultural narrative surrounding the situation. French and Brown explain that it can be expressed through language, vocal expression, and/or bodily posturing. The dominant American narrative is that thinner bodies are healthier and more aesthetically pleasing than larger ones. For sexual assault, French and Brown argue that there is an overwhelming cultural belief that women should be able to prevent an attack on themselves. Thus, the attitude towards women and their bodies is that when they can't prevent an attack on themselves or avoid gaining weight, they no longer have the rights to their body. Next, French and Brown assert that through victimage, one is purified by vicariously offering up another, or scapegoating by placing the blame onto someone or something else. Victimage is all about perceived control of a situation. Our culture tells women that they can control their weight through pills and diet crazes, and they control their potential for an assault by what they wear. French and Brown illustrate that by bringing control back to the woman, she is used as the scapegoat, purifying the other party. And finally, mortification. French and Brown define mortification as self-sacrifice or penance for one's guilt. The guilty party can only regain worthiness by inflicting mental or physical pain on themselves. For obese women, mortification can come in the forms of dieting, self-starvation, purging, and over-exercising. For women who have been sexually assaulted, French and Brown explain that mortification would be not wearing form-fitting or flattering clothing when going out in public following the act of victimage, in order to avoid being blamed for what they're wearing. With this understanding of French and Brown's model, we can apply it to the Indiana fetus burial law and analyze how it establishes the narrative surrounding abortion. Initially, attitude. HEA 1337 describes the interment or cremation process as humane and dignified. This is an example of how the Indiana state government uses linguistic choices that oppress and control women's agency and their ability to free themselves from guilt and shame, adding to the prevalent Christian American narrative that pregnant women who do not give birth are somehow immoral, because if they don't plan the burial or cremation, they are being inhumane or undignified. The language used explicitly in this law supports the idea that abortion is a sinful act, no matter the woman's health risks. Next, victimage. This law uses fetal burials to present the fetus in an innocent and pure light, while placing guilt and shame onto the women. They are victimizing fetuses by giving them the same end-of-life rights as a person. Fox of October 3rd, 2016 explains that even if a woman has a miscarriage at home, she would have to keep the blood and tissue, bring it into a hospital or clinic, and have it buried or cremated through a funeral home. Simply put, the Indiana state government is publicly shaming women for their abortion or miscarriage by purifying the fetus. And finally, mortification. Although HE 1337 provides women with the opportunity to pass off this responsibility, it rhetorically presents it as the only way the woman can regain worthiness. The burial or cremation is, in essence, penance for the sin the woman has committed. The aforementioned Atlantic speculates that perhaps the purpose of this law is to peel back women's eyelids, Clockwork Orange style, and make them confront the meaning of abortion. The shame and stress of having to plan an almost funeral on top of recently having an abortion or a miscarriage would go far beyond Clockwork Orange. This law would make it clear that the only penance that could regain worthiness for a woman is to go through the trauma of having to bury or cremate the fetus. With this understanding, we must ask again, how does the Indiana fetus burial law use agency to establish the narrative surrounding abortion? By taking away agency from the woman, giving it to the government, and victimizing fetuses, HE 1337 merges church and state once again to establish the narrative that abortion is a sinful act. This loss of agency leads us to two implications: ranking trauma and political momentum. Initially, ranking trauma. The American Psychology Association has reported that there are typically no lifelong effects associated with having an abortion, or even a miscarriage. But this law would force women to relive those stressful situations through the mortification of having to bury or cremate their fetus, an act which could trigger pre-existing trauma. The men who created this law have decided that they have the right to rank the trauma that women have gone through, establishing a harsh rhetorical trend. By taking away agency from a woman and victimizing the fetus that was just removed from her body, HE 1337 ranks the importance of a fetus above the mother and her mental health, setting the precedent that the government decides whose trauma is more valid. And finally, political momentum. The 2016 election proves that the conservative movement is gaining political momentum at a rapid rate. This law and laws like it are rhetorical stepping stones towards universalizing religious ideals about abortion. The previously cited Atlantic asks, why would a state create a mourning ritual for no one? Indiana, Texas, and at least 7 other states are transitioning, or attempting to transition, to an attitude where fetuses are someone. By granting a fetus end-of-life rights, the government is insinuating that it had a life. If fetuses become overarchingly viewed as alive, the Supreme Court must have made the wrong decision. By using agency to establish abortion as an act of victimage on a personal and general level, these legislative bodies are gaining the political momentum that could lead to the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Today, we've examined French and Brown's model, applied it to the Indiana fetus burial law before finally drawing implications. Our analysis highlights how the government uses agency to victimize fetuses while shaming the women who have had an abortion. It is only by understanding this that we might be able to, instead of a fetus, bury this issue once and for all.